Thanks for that introduction, Bryce, and welcome, Fern and Craig. Great to have you with us. When we looked at the agri-food ecosystem in Australia back in 2017, we said, well, what's our role at AgriFutures need to be? And we thought one of the really important things is connecting people, and that's what evokeAG is about. But we're very conscious that evokeAG is a 2-day event, brings everyone together, and that physical contact is fantastic, and the face-to-face is so good to see again. But we also recognise that if we're going to connect people, we need to be able to connect people up 365 days of the year, and that's where AgriFutures growAG comes into the picture. growAG is a partnership that we've put together with all of the other 14 research and development corporations. We've done it in partnership with the Department of Agriculture, Forestries and Fisheries. And probably to describe it to you, growAG is like the carsales.com.au. So if you're an investor, or if you're a researcher, or if you're a startup, it's one place that you can go and see all of the opportunities in Australia in the one spot. The impetus for actually establishing growAG was the then Minister for Agriculture, David Littleproud, coming back from overseas trip back in 2018. And he had been on the most exciting trip. He'd been to Canada and the Netherlands, and I think he went to the US, and he met a whole lot of people that were doing technology. And he would say to them, that'd be fantastic in Australia. How do we get that into Australia? And the entrepreneurs were saying to David, well, who do we talk to? Where do we go? And who are the players in Australia for us to interact with? And I'll be honest, I think the minister wasn't quite sure what to say in response. There wasn't an obvious answer. And when he came back to Australia, he met with all the RDCs and he said to us, I want you to develop a platform. I want one place where these people from overseas can come and see the best of our innovation in Australia, and also the investment opportunities and the collaboration opportunities. And so we took that fairly seriously, and 18 months ago we launched growAG. It has nearly 3,000 research projects on it. It's had over 200 commercial opportunities on it. We have 96,000 users, and a third of those users are from overseas. From the interactions that we've had on the platform, we've had over 880 connections made, 140 early stage negotiations, 50 more detailed negotiations, and we're aware of at least 14 actual deals that have money flow that have come out of the program. So we're very proud of where we've got to with the platform. And today we're very fortunate to have 2 of our early users. And so Craig from the University of Southern Queensland, and welcome, and great to have you with us.
Thank you.
And Fern, who pitched magnificently last night. So 2 very different perspectives here, with Craig from university and Fern from a startup. And Craig, I'm just going to start with you. What did you use the platform for, and what was the outcome for you?
Yeah, I guess, John, thanks for the invite, and it's great to be here today and just share our experiences in terms of what we've done. But we've got within the university, a real sort of remit to try and translate our research into commercial outcomes for farmers. And so one of the reasons why we got involved with the growAG platform was to try and get that connection to a partner that could actually take the technology to market for us. It's interesting, though, that we're not novices in this. We've licensed our technology to John Deere. We've engaged with companies in the US and others. But this just added something that was a little bit different to what we'd done previously, and it was a good way of exploring opportunities that perhaps we weren't aware of as well. And so we went into that looking for something that we didn't know about, and that could probably lead to a different path to market than what we were expecting.
So what was the technology that you put on the platform?
Well, we've put a number of different things on the platform at the moment. One thing at the moment we've got is some machine vision work looking at condition monitoring of animals, and we were looking for a commercial partner to take that technology forward. And again, we prospected our own commercial partners looking for those sorts of connections and looking to license that. And quite separately and independently, we used the platform to make some connections for us as well. And the thing that I found was that the leads that we got from the platform was different to what I would have done myself, and therefore it sort of informed a different way to how we might get something into market. So we were looking for a commercial partner to license technology to. What we discovered was a VC arm of a large producer. Funnily enough, they were looking to invest in technologies. They saw the technology that we had and thought that would be an ideal pairing with an investment they might make in a company. And so we've sort of, that's started a different lead. We've got some other technology at the moment where we're prospecting for partners, microbial fungi for improving plant health, crop health, those sorts of things. So mycorrhizal fungi, native species of mycorrhizal fungi, using that as a seed coating and inoculant to try and improve water use efficiency and nitrogen efficiency. It's in the research phase, and so our research is going round and round in circles, and I want to get it out. And so what I've said to the guys is, you've got to scale this, you've got to take it out of the lab, you've got to get into a glass house, you've got to get it out in the field. And so we're looking for a commercial partner to take that forward. So it's an enabler. We recognise where our limits are. Yes, we don't rule out anything, but in a lot of situations, we're looking to turn that technology out and partner with people that can take it to market for us.
Fantastic. So, Fern, fabulous pitch last night at the investor dinner. Thank you. Can you just firstly just tell us a bit about the Leaf Protein Company?
Absolutely. I won't do the 5-minute pitch right now. So we are a food tech startup, and we are valorising plant leaves into alternative functional plant proteins. We take them from waste streams as well as from growing regenerative crops. And
tell me, what is it used for? What's the...
Yeah, so if you want to come and have a look, we have a stand out in the Startup Alley section. So it is a food-grade ingredient, can be used as an alternative protein to the very, very few proteins that are out in market today. But what's great about leaf protein is it's a protein enzyme. So it has all these fantastic functional properties like foaming, emulsification, gelling, and those are the things that the food manufacturers use to recreate the texture and mouthfeel of animal-based products and ingredients. So a real alternative for that growing plant-based food market.
Fantastic. And I know you did mention last night the sort of price range, and it sounded like it was quite reasonable as a protein substitute.
Yeah, so we are... Look, it is a premium protein, and it's not. I'm not biased. The science proves it that it is superior to your standard proteins out in market from nutritional as well as bioavailability. So we are positioning initially as a premium protein, but through time with economies of scales and ongoing R&D, we are expecting for it to be able to compete with soy and your other standard proteins in 5 to 10 years' time.
Fantastic. So just moving on to your experience, and what did you use growAG for?
Yes, so I will be very open that my background is not in the bioscience or food tech, let alone agriculture. I came from an electrical engineering sort of background. As you do. There are actually a lot of engineer founders in the food tech startup place. So for me, there was a lot of learning coming into this space. And learning about the industry, making connections in the industry. I didn't have many sort of long existing connections to begin with. And I was connected onto the growAG platform out of one of the food tech accelerators. So it was a real opportunity from that demo day pitch to be able to reach out to a much broader range of interested stakeholders. We're obviously always interested in people with capital, but I think one of the things with startups is the networking and how many other people in the industry that you can connect in with. So I can talk a bit about the agronomist that we met very early on who was quite pivotal in understanding the path that we've taken.
Just briefly tell us that story.
Yeah. So we put on a commercial opportunity post on the platform, which was about our fundraise last year, which we were successfully able to close, the 750. And we had all kinds of interest coming through, but actually one of the most interesting ones was an agronomist in Victoria who was able to offer their time, and that's a big gift as well, to show me around a lot of the growers in the horticultural space to see firsthand the waste streams that we could potentially use as sources for our input biomass material.
Fantastic. So, Craig, I understand the university's now signed up as a collaboration agreement with growAG. Tell us a bit about where you see it going, what you're hoping to do going forward with your involvement.
Yep, so I think that's a great initiative. So we've signed that agreement, which allows us to share information between the university and the growAG team so that they can curate and manage the sort of IP that we're looking to commercialise. So it's just basically an agreement between the two parties where we can exchange that information. The thing I really like about the platform, it's just not an online tool. Obviously, there's a service behind that. David's done a fantastic job in actually curating the information and putting it in a form where people can engage with it, put it in front of people in a way where it's engaging good leads. And so that's the other thing that I really value a lot, is that background support that you don't see because it's a platform, right? Is quite valuable, and what's really important is that when you do get a lead, you get something that's actually worthwhile to pursue. So we're not looking for a lot of leads, we're just looking for quality leads, and I think that's one thing that we're getting out of this, is that quality lead. The other thing, as I said before, what we're trying to do is mobilise the conversion of our research into commercial outcomes, and so the engagement piece for our researchers is one where they can then engage with the team at growAG and summarise that information in ways in which a commercial partner might be attracted to it. So it takes a load off me in terms of trying to move that forward. I can sort of turn my researchers or our academic staff towards David and his team, and then they can provide that assistance as to what's going to be valuable and what's not, and what do potential investors want to see. And I think the other thing, John, is it's we do know that what leads to successful deals in any sort of form, and we said it before in the previous section, was a warm introduction, or that network that people trust. And so I think what's growing through the site and through these sorts of forums is a sense of a place that you can trust that the information that's on there has been well thought out. There's a good connection there.
It was really interesting listening to the investors talk in the last session and hear the emphasis on relationships and how important relationships are in VC. Although obviously they're very important in commercialisation, but we very consciously put people. So that 880 inquiries that come through in the last 18 months are all concierged by a real person answering a telephone. And from our point of view, managing growAG, what we find is that often the person ringing in responding to a commercial opportunity, but when you actually talk to them, their interest might be there, but it might also be over here and over here. So that is a really important part of the concept of growAG. It's not just carsales.com. You actually get to talk to people at the other end, which I think is...
And there's a real gap there, isn't it? Because the previous conversation was all about VC and startup and those sort of ventures, but there's a lot of intellectual property that gets developed through RDCs, which is not at a level where you're going to start a company and you're going to commercialise at that level. It's technology that needs to partner with someone who's got the capabilities to take it to market, and usually that's not a researcher. It doesn't prohibit researchers wanting to take that technology forward and maybe be a founder themselves, but more often than not, the teams that we've got, they're better used for actually going back and doing more research and turning that back out to industry to commercialise. So that's the bit that I think is a really niche opportunity for the platform, for research communities to get their technology out.
And Fern, do you see yourself using growAG again as your company grows?
Yes.
I'm pleased to hear that.
Yes, well, leading question, because we just put up another commercial opportunity for our current round. It's a very holistic platform, and I think that's one of the great unique opportunities, because it's not just about, like you say, it's far more than carsales.com. The fact that you have people on the phone calls, as an early stage founder, time is of essence. So you don't have time to field all the interest that comes in. So that's valuable in itself. But then all the content that goes behind it, the interviews and the articles that come, and the connection with evokeAG, it's just, great for that holistic sort of view across multiple platforms.
One of the things you said before, I think it might have been last night, you were saying when you are capital raising, that having that media stories is actually useful. Do you want to just explain how that works?
Yeah, look, it was a bit like what I think Victor was talking about with relationships. At the end of the day, you trust and believe something based on your relationship to either the concept or the people or the individual. And I think if it's something that you've seen for the first time, it's not familiar. And so it does require a few conversations and actually being front of mind through these articles, podcasts, on stage, on platform, just helps with that sense of understanding, to become familiar and then to trust. either the concept, the person, or the team, the entrepreneur. So that's so important.
Yeah. And you're saying when you actually have your data room, you actually put those stories in the data room for the investors to see.
It gives
in
the
terms
confidence.
of credibility. Yep.
Yeah. It's like putting that little logo of, #1 that we won in whichever competition.
Yeah, right. So to be clear, alongside of growAG and evokeAG, we run a whole series of stories on startups, on researchers, on technology, which again generate those 96,000 people to come and use the site. So it's very important in terms of dragging people in, dragging them in from social media, dragging them in from other activities to have a look and see the event. Just wanted to just touch on, so when the other aspect of growAG is the fact that we've got all of the research projects being funded by all of the RDCs on there. So one of the other for people that are researchers in the room, if you're looking at doing research in climate change or whatever, I would just encourage you, before you start doing the work, go and have a look and see what other people are already doing and seeing what projects are actually current. So it may not be being done by AgriFutures, but it may be being done by GRDC or MLA or one of the other organisations. So that's another use to it. And just finally, before we finish up, I just wanted to mention, we started with the RDCs, and the research development corporations are very much our core partners in this whole process and have been incredibly supportive and have worked really hard to get their material onto the website. Increasingly, we're getting interest from investors and from startups, which is fantastic.
Yep.
But where we see another opportunity, which we're just starting to explore now, is, and given that we've got a lot of people from overseas in the room, is encouraging people from overseas who have a technology they believe or an innovation they believe may be relevant to Australia and New Zealand and the Asia-Pacific region. And looking at getting those commercial opportunities also onto the platform where there's a benefit for that technology coming into Australia. So, last chance, final words. Craig, anything you want to say before we finish up?
Well, maybe your used car analogy could be more of a brokerage, because that's what I value. So. So perhaps you've just elevated your pitch a little bit, but other than that, I'm pretty happy.
Fern, last chance.
We started the leaf protein around COVID times, so this is my first time at evokeAG. I'm so excited that we have this international conference here in Australia, because I think it speaks a lot for the ecosystem. Thanks, Fern.
Can I just finish by saying big thank you to all of our partners. Thank you to the other RDCs. Thank you to the department for your support. And also thank you to everybody that's listed or has gone in and had a look, had a search and had a play and found one of those 880 connections that we spoke about earlier. Thank you.
Thank you.